Ah, beer, wine, and spirits. Welcome to The Marketing Remix, presented by Red Door Interactive. I'm Reed Carr, CEO of Red Door Interactive. Our show is a senior-level marketer's resource for navigating our ever-evolving landscape. In each episode, in about 20 minutes, experts from different marketing disciplines representing different buyer touchpoints tackle one important marketing topic. Then, what do you need to know, and how does it affect the buyer? Welcome to this episode where we're going to be talking about the buying habits in the beer, wine, and spirits category. With choices ranging from beer to wine to liquor and back again, consumers are afforded bottomless options when it comes to their purchase of alcoholic products. To help marketers better understand these shoppers, we present our In the Buyer's Head episode series, where we answer the question, why do people shop where they shop? In this episode, we'll discuss where shoppers are buying beer, wine, and spirits, how they discover new alcohol brands and products, the impact of Amazon, and how alcohol brands can improve their digital shopping experiences. With us, we have Charles Wiedenhoff, VP of Strategic Planning at Red Door Interactive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Reed. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great having you do this series in the buyer's head and all the research you've been doing on this. And it's interesting to continue to gain new insights as we go from category to category. But to focus on the beer, wine, and spirits category this time and what you found in the research you did there, at a high level, I mean, what does the retail landscape look like for beer, wine, and spirits right now?
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing to come away from this research is that a lot of people who took our survey seemed almost shocked we'd asked the question if they've shopped for alcohol online. There just isn't a whole lot of awareness that it's even legal to do so.
Yeah.
And that's the main barrier at this point for more of it happening. And a lot of research indicates that as we get into 2019, 2020, a lot more people are going to become more aware that they can do this, and then so that it will really take off in the upcoming years.
Well, how are they discovering new brands?
Currently, almost all of it's happening in store, so at the shelf. People kind of show up, figure that they need something, take a look around, maybe talk to a salesperson, and then pick something to consume at home. So that's where a lot of it's happening. Some research is happening online now. Google searches related to alcohol have increased 500% over the previous few years, and so I think that definitely gives an indication to where things are heading.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably contributed to that. I mean, if you're with all the now craft spirits and different things, craft beers and all of that, I mean, it's got to be hard. You don't want to maybe be totally reliant on the shelf space and the distributor relationships and all those kind of things out there. I mean, if you're a brand new brand trying to make a dent something and being completely reliant on shelf space at a grocery store, I mean, that's a challenge. How are these brands overcoming that?
Yeah, it's definitely limiting. I think the good news is we're seeing more information made available online now, either on retail websites or on the different brand.com websites and definitely social media. It was cool to see in our research that 60% of the survey respondents said that they had actually looked for alcohol across various types of websites, including retailers, brands, different online clubs, delivery services, and certainly Amazon. So with their acquisition of Whole Foods, they have piloted not only food and grocery delivery, but also alcohol in a few different markets.
So yeah, I mean, maybe expand on that a little bit. I mean, I guess what role do you think Amazon will play in this space as this evolves and unfolds?
Definitely with their acquisition and ownership of Whole Foods, there's just a natural sort of relationship there. I was lucky enough to live in Cincinnati, where Amazon kind of piloted their 1 and 2 hour delivery options of Whole Foods and groceries. I decided to take a chance to see if it were actually going to work. We lived pretty far away from the Whole Foods there, about 20 miles, and I chose that 1 hour option, and sure enough, the beer I ordered online arrived on time and it was cold. So
Hey, keep the
that was
party
really cool.
going, huh?
There you have it. Yeah. So I think with them, obviously providing, those sorts of services and getting it right, it puts competition on traditional national retail grocery chains to do the same thing. And we also start to see these delivery services like Drizzly is one focused exclusively on alcohol, and Postmates. So they're investing more and growing in different cities and advertising the possibility of, ordering your favorite alcoholic drinks and getting them to your front door without having to leave the house. So, as those services gain in popularity, I think the Amazon halo just puts more pressure on people to get it right and to do it fast.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, obviously that's one aspect of it. Perhaps if you know what you want and want it delivered, again, to keep the party going, or just include that in whatever your groceries may be or something like that. But I mean, again, speaking to probably what are so many marketers that are listening to this and want to figure out how to reach new consumers or get new people into their brand fold, what are some of the key factors in the consumer's decision to purchase alcoholic products in the different channels that we're talking about here? What's gonna persuade them to choose one over another in these respective channels?
Certainly showcasing a diversity of product selection, and inventory, making the unique brands that people want available, accessible through their websites, and making sure that people understand that they can have it as quick as they want, essentially, either delivered or being able to pick up at the curbside. Replicating some of the things that brands and retailers have done over time offline and physical stores. So sampling and tasting programs being done in store obviously can create awareness of different brands. Some grocery chains now are doing either co-branded versions of specialty craft beers and cocktails, so forming relationships as well to gain visibility, both in retail stores and on their website. Being a part of those different events can definitely help. With alcoholic drinks in particular, people are very interested in the types of food that the drinks were going to pair well with, and so offering those suggestions on pairings and recipes and even related drinks and flavors and styles can be very helpful and influential. But probably the most basic things are to have a decent inventory, be accessible, share the story about where the product is coming from, its ingredients, connecting with the brand at that level is going to be very important as well.
Do you feel like there's an advantage in, physical retail versus online, maybe juxtapose the key advantages between those two?
Yeah, sure. I think you mentioned earlier that obviously offline in most stores there's going to be limited shelf space, and with the hundreds and hundreds of options that are available, it's going to be difficult for retailers to provide everything that's available. Where if you sell online and you have virtual limitless shelf space, you can make a lot more available to people. And certainly as we've seen the explosion of craft brands, both beer, spirits, even wine, there's just a lot more available now to people. And so making it accessible to them is really important.
Yeah. And now the other part of it is I think we talked a little bit about in one of our other episodes around the footwear category, where social plays a big role in that. Does social play a role in this category as much? You talked about food pairings and stuff like that. That may be a way of discovering new brands or maybe new flavors put together, but maybe what's the role of social in this category?
Social for me and alcohol is going to be, based around, I think, culturally relevant events. Recipes can play a huge role in that. Events and gatherings. So anytime people are getting together to socialize, host parties and things like that. If you're able to latch on to those types of holidays or different types of gatherings, then you have the opportunity to form a relationship with consumers through social. And we see some brands doing that. There are certain regulations that occur within alcohol still and advertising that provide, I believe, some restraints on what can be done.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a major struggle for the brands that are trying to break through is obviously what the rules and regulations on all of that stuff are, plus then the distribution component in the offline world that we talked about. But, if you are a brand such as a craft spirit trying to break through or craft beer or wine trying to break through, I mean, how can some of these brands improve the digital shopping experience to kind of play to just be discovered and obviously then convert someone to taking a chance on them?
Yeah, a lot of what we've talked about so far around just being findable and providing even fundamental information about what you're selling, where it's coming from, where it's available, anything special around the story of where it came from and the people who are behind it. Those can be inspirational things that get people excited about trying new drinks, especially with younger consumers who all the research has shown us that it's not that less loyal to brands, but they try many more, products in a certain time frame. And so allowing them to discover new products that are going to be interesting and relevant to them is hugely important. We're seeing some pretty cool things with mobile apps. And so, with age detection and some of those things, if your brand has a mobile app, you can get around some of that pretty easily. And then doing either location-based geo-targeting campaigns, being accessible and found within restaurants and bars, breweries, tasting rooms, things that they're doing with loyalty in that regard can help form a longer-term relationship with your followers and people to encourage loyalty.
It seems like online has the advantage in that regard then. I mean, people can spend time consuming the story of who's behind the brand in the mobile environment, connecting them to places where they can find some of these things, or, the social components of some of those apps that certainly that we've played around with. You can identify new breweries based on ones you've liked, or find that there's a particular brand you like and where you might find it, a restaurant you might find it, or something like that. That's where it does feel like there's maybe a little bit of advantage in the overall purchase funnel compared to then, you talked a little bit about maybe on the kind of sales associates and things like that in retail. It's kind of a different ball of wax over there on the physical environment. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's only so much information that a person in a store is going to be aware of. And again, how much knowledge that person has about everything that store stocks could potentially be limiting. And certainly digital can help expand upon that and kind of fill in the gaps. And using data and targeting, again, can fill that role of providing more personalized recommendations and encourage discoverability of different flavors or products that are sold within brands.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to consider how fast this category has been growing, like what you were saying earlier, the 500% growth. I mean, what those options start to create in this world, in the digital world, certainly, is going to be really interesting to see how that unfolds. I mean, any predictions as you see it with that kind of velocity? I feel like next year and in 2019, we'll probably see some even greater changes. I mean, what do you predict in that category?
I think it's definitely going to be a tipping point over the next few years. Amazon, they started selling and delivering alcohol in UK and Germany a few years before the US, and they're seeing substantial growth in those countries, I think over 200%. So if you take that, you kind of see what might happen in the US. There's a huge opportunity for both retailers and brands to provide more of a direct-to-consumer relationship. It's interesting because it is pretty localized here in terms of different regulations, but for the most part, you can see those opening up and making alcohol definitely more accessible.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. I mean, Charles, really appreciate you joining us on this episode. I mean, all that research that you've done and synthesized here can be available in a larger format, available on our website at reddoor.biz/learn to get the full 2018 Beer, Wine, and Spirits Shoppers Report that Charles authored. So, Charles, thanks for joining us.
Certainly. Thanks, Reed.